So I'm Mark Hooper. I'm the physical literacy instructional coach for the Ottawa Carleton District School Board, and we're on here today just to take a look at daily physical activity (DPA) and how it could be purposeful. So when you're back in class, or a couple of things you might be able to do now with students as well. So in the chat box, I have actually shared with you a slide deck. The slide deck that I'll be showing you today, and we'll just be going through some of the activities on there. At the end, I'll give you some time for questions as well, and I'll show you some resources around this. So I'm going to put this into presentation mode. So in the chat box, I encourage you to click on that link and then save that slide deck. You can refer to the resources later then. So we're into the presentation mode. I'll be in back and forth in presentation mode just because there's some things I'll be doing with you a little interactively. And so here we go. Thinking everybody can see my screen now, I'm hoping. If you can't, please let me know. Okay, so going into presentation mode. Talking about daily physical activity. Now, what we're going to do is actually do a little bit of an icebreaker, so I'll be out of presentation mode in a moment. There's lots of different little activities you can do, and what we're going to show you today is just something that can just as a bit of an icebreaker. I call it the squat escalator challenge. I didn't invent it. A gentleman at Thompson Publishing invented it, and he does this activity in all his workshops. So basically, the idea is, and this activity can be done in any type of static movement. So I have two activities up here. One's the squat escalator, and one's the amazing race. They're both what I call rock, paper, scissors challenges. So what you're going to be doing is, with one of you, I'll play rock, paper, scissors, okay, in a moment. And we'll do it just kind of online. And the idea is, in the squat escalator challenge is, and you don't have to do this right now, but the winner in rock, paper, scissors is going to get rewarded with exercise. So taking a look, I'm going to come out of the presentation for a moment. And Susan, what we've got is, I've got you there, and you're nice and big in the screen right now. So what we're going to do is you hold your fist up, okay? And we're going to play a game of rock, paper, scissors together, okay? So we go rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Good. So you got scissors, that was a tie. So we go again. So we go rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, what do you have there? I can't see your hand. You had fists. Okay, one more time. Okay, so rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, you got paper? You got paper? Okay, so paper covers rock. Okay, so in that case, so you would win. Okay, and so what happens is you won rock, paper, scissors. So you typically get rewarded with the exercise. So what we would do then is, you don't have to do this, Susan, but what happens is you'd stay. Let's say I won. I'd stay in squat position. Okay, then we'd keep on playing. I have to stay in squat position until the winner changes. And we keep playing. So we go rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, so you got paper there, I think, and I got scissors. So again, so basically the winner goes into and does the exercise. Okay, so the idea behind that is it just kind of shows you can use different static movements. So in that case, I did a squat. We can change it to lunges where we have one foot forward and one leg back. You go into lunge position, or balance poses like tree pose where you're standing on one leg. So you can actually do that with any type of static movement in the class. It doesn't take up a lot of movement in the class. Doesn't take up a lot of space in the class. So easy for the kids to do. Now, the one thing, I'll get you to go off mute for a second. The one thing about rock, paper, scissors is it actually relates to other subjects. When you think about it, okay? Can anybody think of it? Can you think of a subject, either you that on this right now, that can relate what does rock, paper, scissors relate to possibly in another curriculum? Anything you can think of? Do either of you teach math by any chance? No? Okay. So we're talking about the chance of something happening, okay? And rock, papers, or scissors. Does anybody know possibly what that might be? You can type it in too if you'd like. So.
All right. I teach French usually, so
yeah. So we're thinking probability. Yeah. So that's exactly what it is. It's a probability task. Okay. So the students basically are doing a probability task. It's actually a good warm-up activity for a math activity. That's kind of why I wanted to show it to you. It's just because it's a probability task. So we can actually make our physical activities relate to what we're teaching. So that might be a good icebreaker. So I'm going back to the slide deck now. So DPA, basically it's a Ministry of Education policy. It ensures all elementary students, including students with special needs, have a minimum of 20 minutes of sustained moderate to vigorous physical activity at school every day during instructional time. Okay, it came out in 2005, and it fits within the vision, goals, and fundamental principles of the entire curriculum. Okay. Now, it relates to physical literacy as well. Okay, so we want the students to be active, but we also want them to be physically literate. So individuals who are physically literate move with competence in a wide variety of physical activities that benefit the development of the whole person. So at the same time, we want them to acquire movement skills that might benefit them for their entire lives. Okay, so going through, what we're going to do is, I should have told you this at the beginning, I'm going to go back to the screen again. We're going to do a little activity called Kahoot. Okay, I'm just going to see, going back here again. And if you don't have a device, I could just explain it to you. Are you familiar with Kahoots, with Kahoot activities? You are? Awesome. I don't know if do you have another device like a phone around or something? Yes? Okay. We'll try this just for a second, okay? And Evgenia, are you there too? If you have a device too, you can do this as well. Okay. So you just log on to your phone and you go to kahoot.it, okay? And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how you can make Kahoots active, okay? So we do Kahoots in class. The Kahoots are basically they're like a quiz you can do with your class, and often the kids are just sitting there and they're doing the quiz, okay, in their seats. Well, I thought they're engaging, but I thought, how do I make them active? And what I do is as follows. In the slide deck, I've created an answer key. Okay, so when the answer comes up, let's say the answer is triangle. The kids would do a stork stand. A stork stand is just standing on one foot with the other foot resting against their leg. Okay, if the answer is diamond, they do high knees. If the answer is jumping jacks, if the answer is circle, they do jumping jacks. Or if the answer is square, they would do squats. Okay, so the idea is I'm gonna do a little quiz with you, and I'm gonna log into it myself. I'm just gonna go back one page. So you're gonna go to kahoot.it, and I'm gonna give you a login, basically a code to put in. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Kahoot right now, and we'll give it a try. So what you have to do is you just have to remember and you feel free if you would like to try the exercises yourself or not. So again, I would usually have the key up somewhere just to remind the kids, even just written on the blackboard or the whiteboard or a poster showing them what the exercises are. I can't have both things on the screen at once. So if you want to try the exercises, you can. Now, going through, I'm going to go to my Kahoot. And we'll just try a couple questions. This is actually a Kahoot teaching kids about, the students about DPA. And I'd like to start it, so. Wants me to log in, 1 second. I'm sure I can just play it as a guest, but anyways. So, taking a look, we'll give this a try. So there is the code that you're going to put in, okay? Oops. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. So there's two of us on here right now. We'll just play with the two of us right now. So give it a try. So here's the student DPA challenge, okay? So what does DPA stand for? Very simple question, okay? So triangle is doing physical activity, diamond, daily physical activity, circle, dancing physical activity, or square, dabbing physical activity. All right. So yeah, it is daily physical activity. So going back to the template that I showed, you would have chosen diamond. And so what the kids would be doing then would be high knees. So they would key in their answer on their device and they would do high knees. Okay. When I see everybody doing high knees, that would cue me to that everybody has answered the question online as well. So going to the next one, let's try another one. How often should DPA happen? Okay. Now, what I'll do is I'll take the timer off of this. There's a reason I don't want the timer on there, and I'll explain that to you. So in this case, it's every day. Okay. And so on every day, most of the kids should be doing jumping jacks in the class. Okay, if they know it's DPA every day. And then next. When Mr. Hooper, this is my fun thing. When Mr. Hooper was your age, what describes his hair? We'll see if you get this one right. Okay, all right. That was a harder one to answer, but yeah, it was thick and curly, okay? So going back to this again, what I like to show is, so this can be played. The neat thing about this, it can be played with devices or without devices. And the way it can be, if you don't want to get all the kids to, you don't have enough Chromebooks in your class, for instance, or devices in your classroom, and some classes have that. What you can actually do is just log in yourself, okay? And you log in on your own device, and you just, and basically you tell the kids to show you what answer you'd like them, like you'd like to have answered for them. So if most of them are doing high knees, okay, in the class, you'd answer diamond for them. If most of them are doing stork stands, you would answer triangle, and so on. So this is a good class activity with just one device. If you do have devices in your class and all the students can play, what I'll often do is I will basically say, okay, you can all answer, and then right after you answer, you have to start doing your exercise. In that case, I also always log myself in, okay? And I take the timer off on that as well. You can do that on the Kahoots. You can take the timers off. The reason I take the timer off is if you're familiar with Kahoots, the question will always end once everybody has answered. So if I'm logged in and I don't answer the question and I just stay on as long as I want, I'll keep the kids exercising a little bit longer too. And eventually I'll answer so that the question will end. So the neat thing about this is, again, we're trying to see how DPA could be purposeful. And in this case, it's very purposeful because this is an assessment exercise. We're checking to see what the kids know. So in this case, I've done it through DPA knowledge. So I'll do a workshop with teachers and students about daily physical activity. And this is my check to see how well they understand the activity. You could do this in any subject. So French, math, English, social studies. There's many, you basically make up a quiz with the students that the students will have to answer. And you get a good check to see what they understand. At the same time, they're getting some physical activity in. So it's kind of a fun way. The technology is engaging, the exercise is engaging, and you're getting a good little assessment. And the Kahoots actually record all the information as well. Okay. Now, because I'm in the presentation right now, if for some reason like you have a question for me, please just feel free to take it off mute and just ask me, because I can't see if you're asking me a question in the chat box or not. So basically, daily physical activity came from Policy Program Memorandum PPM 138, which requires daily physical activity, 20 minutes per day. Okay, a lot of people thought it disappeared. It didn't. In fact, the province over the last 2 years in our own district has wanted to really see it rejuvenated. So they want to make sure there is 20 minutes from grades 1 to 8 every day. So the interesting thing is, it used to be that it was basically 20 minutes and 20 minutes at a time. Well, the ministry's actually changed that. And at first I was a little upset about it, but they said it now could be 20 minutes spread throughout the entire day. And I'm going, oh, how's that ever going to be monitored? But then I thought, okay, this is actually an opportunity. It's an opportunity because you could actually have DPA in every class. It doesn't have to be designated to just one person. So basically, you make it part of your teaching practice to open your class with a little 5-minute activity that gets the kids active. And if that happens in every class through the day, the kids meet the requirement of 20 minutes, probably more in a day. And basically, the kids get to reap all the benefits of DPA, because there's the physical benefits that we've talked about, but there's also benefits such as self-regulation, which relates to behavior, and mental health benefits as well. So DPA has many benefits. Now, in the back, in the resources back of the slide deck, I have a number of resources to take a look at. One is related to the Ministry of Education. When the Ministry of Education came out with DPA back in 2005, they actually released some really good documents. And I've actually put those documents in the back of the slide deck that you can click on. And one of the things they have in there are, and I'm not going to go through these point by point because it would take too long, but there's a lot of reasons people don't do DPA as much, and there's a lot of barriers to it, and it gives solutions to these barriers. So barriers such as barriers to the classroom, for instance, okay? There's too much furniture in the room, okay? Class is too small, too many students. So what are possible solutions? And the document actually shows possible solutions that you can use, okay? Now, Multi-purpose spaces. So what are some of the barriers there? So small area, low ceilings. So what can you do to overcome those barriers? So multi-purpose are like your hallways, sometimes the library, unused rooms. And the gymnasium, we always have barriers to the gymnasium. One is getting into the gymnasium. Some schools, the gym's so small, it's very difficult to get all the classes into the gymnasium for regular physical education class, let alone daily physical activity. And because we live in Canada, one of the major barriers is the outdoors. Okay, so because it's winter and a lot of people don't like to go outside, at the younger ages it becomes more of a barrier because it takes about 30 minutes sometimes to get them into their winter clothing. So what are some strategies you come up with to have DPA outdoors? With the younger kids, what I might actually do is structure my DPA before recess or after recess. And the activity intensity is moderate to vigorous. So what that means is if we were to take a walk down the street and basically a brisk walk, my heart rate would go up a bit, my breathing rate would go up a little bit. If I broke that into a light jog, it would go into the vigorous category. Okay, and I say a light jog, not a sprint or a run. What I tell students and I tell teachers, if you know you're in the moderate to vigorous range, if you can do the exercise and still conversation with the person beside you without having to take a deep breath between every syllable. Okay. One of the other barriers that's often reported is the kids sweat too much and they need to change. Well, if they're going into that level, they're probably going into the intense level. They're going past moderate to vigorous. Okay. And it is part of the curriculum. Okay. So it should be assessed as part of the curriculum under the active participation strand. Okay. So DPA is in there. And it supports physical literacy. Okay. So you're teaching the kids movement skills and strategies that they can use over a variety of different types of activities: target activities, net wall activities, striking and fielding activities, and territory activities. So you're supporting physical literacy and you're supporting other subjects at the same time, making it very purposeful. And that falls under our comprehensive physical literacy instructional model, which promotes teaching movement skills rather than sports, and teaching it through lots of fun games rather than sports-specific drills. Okay, and lots of benefits I talked about with DPA. Okay, it's being physically active has been linked to student performance, so the better academic achievement, better behaviors in class, and I'll go to the mental health aspect in a bit. We actually created data on this in our own school board. We have a program at the high school level called the SPARK program, and it's aimed mainly at at-risk youth. And these students, they sign up for the SPARK program, and it's usually physical. Part of the 75 minutes is physical activity, begins with physical activity, and after the physical activity, they actually do a core subject such as math or English. And what they're finding is in our schools, our own schools, they're finding that these students, their grades are going up very dramatically. So these are students that were either failing or close to failing, and their grades are going up into the high 60s and 70s and sometimes into the 80s. What we're also finding is that there's less truancy. They're showing up to school because they want to be engaged in this type of activity. And these are courses that are structured around the first part of the day because that's when it's been shown that DPA is most effective. And there's less suspensions of these students as well. Okay, and benefits of mental health. By doing this activity, you're engaging in an activity that creates endorphins in the body, which kind of a natural pain reliever and makes you feel better. And there's some studies you can take a look at. I'll leave that in the slide deck if you'd like to take a look at the studies. This all relates to the well-being framework too. So you guys all do all your schools do wellness plans. And if you take a look, it fits in with all the realms of the well-being framework, the OCDSB well-being framework. creates better physical well-being, cognitive well-being, and emotional well-being. So as part of your well-being, school well-being plan, a good DPA program supports it. Okay. Now, there's some activities I just want to show you here. And I'll just give you an idea of what they are. You're probably aware of, if you're not already, there's video-based programs out there called Go Noodle or Just Dance. So Go Noodle is gonoodle.com, and they have all sorts of video-based activities that you can do with the kids that are very interactive. Just Dance is basically on YouTube, and you just look up Just Dance, and there's like, it's basically from a video game, and somebody's taking a video of a video game, a bunch of them, and you basically follow along to the characters, and the kids find it very engaging. Now, Ophia's put out these little stick figures I like to use, and they're chair aerobics stick figures. And there's a couple of things I like to do with them, okay? And one is that you can actually do chair aerobics. And I'll put music on in my class and have these little stick figures up, and I'll take the kids through the different motions in their seats. Now you can do the same thing from a standing position. The reason I like doing the chair aerobics, if you've ever had a student in a wheelchair in your class, that's happened in my classes about 4 different times in my career, and gives a feeling of inclusion and awareness for students, what it's like to do exercises from a sitting position. And it makes the student in the wheelchair feel more included in the class too. So that's one thing I'll often do with these. The other thing I will often do is like a little game I call Follow the Leader, where I put one student out in the hall for a moment, and I choose another student to be a leader in the class. And the student that's the leader goes through the exercises I put up in any order that they want, and they have to change the exercise every 5 seconds. And the rest of the students have to follow along with whatever the leader is doing. When they've started the exercises, I invite the person in the hall to come back in and try to figure out who the leader is. So kids get to use their critical thinking on how they can hide the leader, okay, and still do the exercise at the same time. So there's some different chair aerobics activities there. Now, taking a look, we talk about purposeful DPA examples, okay? So one I've got there is Mission Possible, and Mission Possible is basically you're going and you're creating missions for kids, and missions that could be purposeful. So one I might want to do is exploring a space in a gym, understanding, and I will sometimes do this as an introductory activity at the beginning of a year or something, if I want the kids to understand what a space looks like and what everything that's in that space. So I designed this mission that I have up there for the kids to explore a gymnasium that they were in. And they have to go through, and they have to do all sorts of fun little activities in that gym while exploring the space. It's real simple to do. You could do the same thing out on a field or something, and you just create 9 to 10 things for them to do. And what I'll do is I'll have groups of students start at different numbers. So I'll have like 4 students start at 1, another 4 students start at 2, another 4 students start at 3, so on. And they have to go through the whole list. And once they get to the bottom, they go back to the top and do all the activities that they missed. So it's really easy. You can create multiple missions, and the kids have a blast. And I said it's not a race to finish everything first. It's a challenge to see if you can do all of the activities. Okay. We talk about purposeful DPA too. I gave you one activity that's related really well to numeracy at the beginning. Another one is, this comes out of a resource from the Canadian Intramural Recreation Association. They put out all sorts of wonderful resources, and one of them is Counting on Fun, which is basically all related to math. So all the activities have a math relationship. And what happens in this is we designate different, it's a target game. So basically they put out, there's a hula hoop that's put out in front of each group. And one member of each group at a time has to go retrieve items that they're going to throw into their pot. Okay, and you're going to gradually create a soup. And so they'll have rubber chickens, for instance, that would be worth 5 points. Soft toss balls, which could be 3 points. Pool noodles, if you have pool noodles, they're 2 points. And in this case, bean bags, which are stones, believe it or not. And they're negative 2 points, which is really interesting because you're adding integers into it too. And I always say, tell the kids they can throw items into any pot they want. So the stones can go into another student's pot if you'd want to. So the idea is they do the activity, and at the end, they count up. They try to count how much their soup is worth. So I'll give you an example of this. I had a teacher that we did this game in a workshop, and he went back to his school and he did the activity with his class, and he sent me the video. It's really interesting. So I was going to show you the video briefly. So you can see it's pretty engaging. I like this game a lot. It does a couple of things. So it teaches the kids about numeracy. It supports physical literacy and teaching kids about target games, how to manipulate objects towards a target. In this case, the teacher didn't have pool noodles, so he just altered the equipment and created his own recipe chart. What I'll often do after I say stop is I'll go steps further as well in this. I'll ask kids to tell me what they think their total is. Then I'll ask them to prove it by regrouping their items. So they're showing regrouping skills. Another little extension I often do with this game is I'll make multiple recipe cards for myself, and I'll give each group a different recipe. The neat thing about that is they don't know what everybody else's equipment is worth. And at the end, once they've made the tally, they've said how much each of their soups are worth. I will tell the groups to go to a different bowl and try to figure out, based on the total that the students have given, how much each item was worth in their pot. So it's another neat little extension. With the stones involved, you're involving integers as well. So trying to make it really purposeful for numeracy. Now, another one related to numeracy is right to play. Right to play is a group that we have. It's a community partner that comes into a lot of our schools and does what I call purposeful games. So games related to global citizenship and related to curriculum. So this is a game called Evens and Odds. And what the students actually do in here is, and it can be done in a classroom format, and there's a way to do it at home as well. And basically you have one group that's the odds and one group that's the evens. And then we have a caller, which could be the teacher. And the teacher might say 5 plus 8, okay? Or they hold up a sign that says 5 plus 8. And so that equals 13. So if it's odds, okay, that means the odds basically have to run away to their safe zone, and evens are going to chase them. If the evens catch any of them, they get to the odds that are caught, join their team. Okay. So there's a lot of computation skills, understanding what odds and evens are. And this is a game that actually can be done at home with low numbers. You only need 3 people. A parent can be a caller, and you have 2 other people. You do the same thing. You basically do up, say, a math equation, and it could be like 2 plus 2 equals 4. So the evens try to run. The person that's in the even runs away. If the person odd catches them, okay. The odd gets to stay in, and the even gets to go be the caller, and the person that's the caller gets to come into the game. Okay, so you just kind of rotate through like that. It's very engaging, teaching numeracy skills. Now, there's another game I like to have on there, and I have a link to it, and it's called I Like Math as well. And the I Like Math basically is, it's going to come out of here again. And we have somebody else that joined. So I'm going to, I'm just going to put the link back in the chat box there in case you can't see it. Okay. So Susan, I'm going to use you again because I can see you. So in I Like Math, all we're going to do is I'm going to have your hands in front of the screen. And in the game, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do clap each other's hands. But we're in social distancing right now, and so what we're going to do is clap our hands together 3 times saying, I like math. So we go, I like math, I like math, and I like math. And then we put out like 3 or up to 5 fingers. So I put out 3, and you put out, how many fingers are you going to put out? 4. So that equals 7, okay? So it equals 7. So we're the first person to answer 7, okay? So we'll try it again.
Okay.
So we go, I like math, I like math, I like math. And then, good. So 7. So what would happen then is, because I win, okay, I would choose an exercise for us both to do. Okay. So I might say, I want us to do 10 steps on the spot really quick. Okay, so we run 10 steps on the spot really quick, or I want to do 10 jumping jacks. So the student that wins always gets to choose an activity for both the students to do.
All right.
All right. So it's called I Like Math. Again, you're putting numeracy into the activity. Okay. Now, there's another activity I want to show you, and so we had numeracy, and can do literacy as well. Okay, so what I've got here is, and there's the example, I took this right out of one of the ministry documents that I told you about. So this is a physical activity in schools, grades 1 to 3. And in this case, what we've got is you can come up with kind of like a game of Boggle. And you give the kids a bunch of letters, and they have to spell a word from those letters using exercises. So as a group, or as an individual, they can actually take a look, and they try to create a word. And you challenge the other people in the class to figure out what their word is. So if they put down, so if the group or individuals did 10 high knees, followed by 10 wall climbers, followed by 10 squats, followed by 10 jumping jacks, okay? That spells read, okay? So the students would have to try to decode that to figure out that that's the word read. So I only put 4 letters up there this time. You could put as many letters up as you want. You could put 10 letters up, for instance, making sure that there's both vowels and consonants, and challenge the kids to come up with words, and that the other students have to decode. After they decode it, you ask the rest of the class to spell out that same word using exercise as well. Okay, so there's all sorts of alphabet games you can do. That's just one example of an alphabet game. Again, cross-curricular with literacy. Okay, and that's something that can be done in English and in French. Okay. So what I just wanted to show today is that DPA can be very purposeful for what you're doing in class, okay? So we start with the squat escalator challenge. I didn't mention the Amazing Race challenge either, but the Amazing Race is kind of a fun game as well. It's another rock, paper, scissors game where you have a home base and everybody in the class comes up, plays rock, paper, scissors. And by winning in rock, paper, scissors, they're able to advance around the classroom to different stations around the classroom, usually 4 different stations around the classroom that have an exercise. So they play rock, paper, scissors at home base. They go to, and they win. They get to go to station number 1 where there's an exercise they have to do. After they do the exercise, they play rock, paper, scissors at that station. If they win, they get to go to the next station and so on, okay, around the classroom to try and get back to home base again. I have actually a package in the my DPA workshop package at the back on this in the slide deck that outlines that game for you within it. So it's actually really fun. Anyways, they both promote numeracy in the classroom through rock, paper, scissors, through probability. The Kahoot basically is an active participation game. It's curricular and it's assessment. Okay. Follow the leader in the videos. You got active participation. You have inclusion built into that. The Mission Possible or Rich's Soup is very numeracy related. Again, supporting physical literacy, the physical literacy framework, and the renewed math strategy. Then we have literacy games such as the alphabet game I showed you. And then the I Like Math, the odds and evens game as well, okay, supporting numeracy. So when you're taking a look at daily physical activity, these are some of your best friends, I'd like to say, is the curriculum, the health physical education curriculum, and the physical literacy framework for the OCDSB. There's ministry resources out there. Our community partners are wonderful with coming up with games. So OFIA, Sierra Ontario, PHE Canada, and Right to Play all have wonderful activities that are purposeful, not only for physical education, but also for other curriculum subjects. And there's some of the links that you can actually go to that are at the back of the slide package as well. Okay, that you can take a look at. Now, so going out of that, I'm kind of just going through. I usually like my workshops to be a little more interactive. If you've ever been to one of my workshops, you're actually doing a lot of these activities. But it's difficult where we are right now. So I'm going to give you an opportunity. Does anybody have any questions about daily physical activity and how to make it purposeful? You feel free to take yourselves off mute if you'd like, or you can type it into the chat box. I'm monitoring that now. And I'm going to take it out of presentation mode. So feel free if you have a question. If you're shy as well, and you have questions afterwards, feel free to email me any questions you'd like as well, because I do like to help teachers out. Physical education, physical literacy is something I have a great passion for. I'm actually in the last year of this position, so I'm moving to a vice principal position next year. So I will, but I always put it out there to teachers that if they ever need ongoing support, I feel I can still do that while working in the field. So feel free to email me at any time, even next year.
This is a comment. This year I work one day, grade 1 immersion. 4 days I'm doing supply work. And often when I do supply work, I get this DPA, take the kids outside, let them do whatever they want. I always feel, like I'm not doing what I should be doing, sort of thing. So
yeah, I mean that's I'm sorry to say that's your experience, and unfortunately it is the experience for a lot of supply teachers. It's not what's supposed to be done according to the policy. In that case, it's always nice to have your own repertoire of activities you can do with the kids at just in your war chest to bring out and do the activities. It is something that's supposed to be led, and it's something that's supposed to be assessed. If teachers are saying take them out for an extra recess, that is not the intent of daily physical activity. So it's always good if the teacher leaves that. That's very unfortunate. that they should not be doing that. And it's always good to have activities on your own. So taking a look at the resources I've given you, even if you have 3 or 4 different ones, depending on the class, you say, okay, we're going to do this activity instead of just going and having free play. Problem with free play is you'll get kids that just sit down and don't do anything, right? Like, and that's not the intent of physical activity, right? And it's supposed to be led, and they're supposed to learn something from it every time. And they can learn a bit on their own, some discovery stuff, but there should be some feedback from teachers as well. Yeah.
Well, this is why I wanted to assist to your your workshop, because I felt I needed extra ideas to bring to those schools.
So hopefully those give you some resources to take a look at, to go to those schools. And if you ever want to run things by me and say, I want to try this, but and this happened, what can I do? Contact me, because that's the stuff I like to walk through to help teachers out with. So, but yeah, it is a pet peeve of mine. Daily physical activity was not meant to be extra recess for kids. It is in the curriculum. It is to be assessed, and it is to be led. Okay, so
that's what I learned originally years ago. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for me? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming to my presentation today. I might do a summer. I've been doing summer institutes. If we have summer institutes, I might try to sign up for one more before I start my new position back in the fall. I encourage you to come to it. My workshop presentations tend to be, like I say, much more active than this, so you get to see things a little bit more in action. But hopefully, this gives you a good starting point. Any resources for kindergarten? Yeah, so kindergarten, I can tell you a couple of places where you can get resources for kindergarten. I'll put them in the chat box for you. I'll call them up, bring up the tabs for myself, and I'll put them in the chat box for you. So here's one that I've got that I really like for teachers. At kindergarten, the big focus is on strictly on movement skills and just your basic movement skills: how to run, how to throw, how to catch, how to jump, how to hop. And this site is actually really good for helping teach those basic fundamental movement skills. So activeforlife.com is one. Ophia has some great resources as well. And I will take you to that one. I'll give you the website for that as well. Same type of thing. It's the Ophia resources as well. They're same type of thing. They're basically teaching fundamental movement skills, okay, through games. And that's what we want to teach the kids. Rather than doing drills with kids, we want them to play lots of like fun little games, and that are purposeful to teach them fundamental movement skills while they're playing that game. So those are two wonderful little resources I really, really recommend for educators if they're looking for early years. They actually have resources for all grades there, but early years it's really good because a lot of people have a hard time finding early years activities, I find. So those are two wonderful sites. Any other questions?
Awesome. Not for now.
Okay, so I'm always open again. If you ever have questions, please do feel free to contact me, email me, and I will get back to you and with an answer to anything you might be wondering. Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a good day. I hope everybody feels healthy and safe.
Thanks. Same to you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye now.